Good morning. It's Friday, January 3rd, and welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. I had been looking forward to the college football series, to decide who wins the NCAA title as number one team in the nation this year. And of course, with the Sugar Bowl looming to be played on Wednesday, we had what appears to be a terrorist attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and it changed the program. And obviously, much more serious than a football game was the loss of 14 human beings' lives and a number of injuries that took place, and 15 in total, including the death of the man who committed this heinous act of terrorism against the United States. So first and foremost, let me say, my heart goes out to all of those families who lost a loved one. What a senseless, terrible act. But I have to say, well, first let me get that out of the way. So they're all in heaven now, which is probably not as well. Hopefully, it's a comforting fact, but I just can't even imagine for those parents who lost a kid. There was a few, children, in my opinion, age-wise, just starting their life out, graduated college, and not that makes it any less for the 63-year-old gentleman who passed away. And I had thought that I would go through the names and everything, but I'm going to keep it brief in saying I'm so sorry for your loss. Perhaps maybe we can do another show and talk about some of the individual accolades that these people had achieved in their life and maybe focus more on them individually. But my heart just is broken for those families. I think it's awful, awful, awful. Send them down to go to a football game or have some fun, and this occurs. But I have some questions. So let's go over a little bit, because it's so in the news. I felt that it would be dishonoring the families and our country to not mention and talk about this a little bit, about what occurred. So who was Shamsud-Din Jabbar, the suspect in the New Orleans truck attack? Who is this guy? So there was a stir going on about the fact that Trump or somebody from his office said, I don't have all the facts of this. I did a quick research on it. I focused more about the people that had passed away. In my reading, I got more interested in them, as individuals. So I read a lot of material, family members who have posted things about them, but it's not that I don't have any of the facts, and I downloaded some stuff to read. So Beaumont, Texas, January 2nd, Reuters. Shamsud-Din Jabbar, the Texas man accused of crashing a truck into the New Year's Day revelers in New Orleans, killing 14 and injuring dozens, was an Army veteran struggling to get past a recent divorce, but who showed no signs of anger just weeks prior to the attack, his half-brother said. Federal officials and local law enforcement in New Orleans say Jabbar had an Islamic State flag on his truck and posted a series of videos to social media professing his allegiance and deadly militant group shortly before barreling into the Bourbon Street crowd on Wednesday morning. So let's take a look at that, and this is a pretty reputable news source, Reuters. If you say something and post it on most social media sites, that's very controversial. If you threaten to kill someone, a politician, an athlete, whoever, if you threaten to do that, there would be FBI at your door. If you threaten to kill a president, a vice president, a senator, there would be somebody monitoring your stuff so fast, and probably at your door, depending upon who you threatened, but shortly thereafter. So now I know that online posts that suggest violence, posts that suggest terrorist activity. And certainly, and I'm not above telling you that I believe in my heart that with his last name and the Islamic ties that he had, not for a very long time, it doesn't seem like, but he rented a truck. He drove from like Houston, I think. There were signs. There were signs that no one was watching this guy. Nothing that he put online or in social media suggested that someone might pop on this guy and take a look at what he's doing. Where is he located? He just rented a truck. That would be on his credit cards. And I don't know, it seems like the stuff I've heard for other people, activists, myself. I mean, I put some stuff online during a show, a different show, and I suggested that Joe Biden would never be the one that ran against Trump. I said this, a long, long time ago, over a year ago, before it was fashionable to say, before anybody else was talking about it, before Jim Rickards and this one, I predicted that. I said it before anyone said it online. And I got, according to Joe Rogan and a guest he had, I got FBI blocklisted. Like they were watching what I'm saying, watching what I'm doing. I got removed from certain sites. I got taken down because it wasn't obviously what the current administration wanted to hear. I ended up being 100% right about him not running, and there wasn't a chance they were going to let him run against Trump. He was getting his ass kicked. And so because of that, they pulled me down. Okay, I'm not some terrorist threat. I'm not going to do anything violent against the country or against others or anything. So, and I think they probably know that. But the material that I was covering and the things I was suggesting and talking about were threatening to them, obviously. So they decided to, have a go with me or limit my ability to reach you or discuss with you. I mean, I'm willing to look at lots of stuff, both sides for sure, and support that with something that makes sense. And come from a place where you understand how the system really works. Don't give me some BS about, this is America. They don't do that. Yeah, they do. They do a lot of really subversive, crazy stuff. They do. The government is capable of doing things that are not 100% on the up and up. They do that for sure. And sometimes they do those things because they're claiming that it's for the greater good of the American people. I'd like to make that decision for myself. This is my country. I pay taxes. I vote for people to be elected. And to be very honest with you, besides national security, which obviously they can't, the president can't come out and tell you what's going on globally, military and positioning and so on. Yeah, of course I get that. But this case, someone should have been watching this guy. For sure. And I've seen people be watched for far less. And could there be some racial profiling going on based on this guy's Islamic background, his last name, his full name? Probably. But I mean, you have to understand, we've been attacked on our home turf. 9/11 and different things that have happened to us in wars that we're currently still, we have soldiers, our boys and girls over there trying to keep the peace. So we're a target. We're absolutely a target of terrorists. We're the biggest circle. X is on our back in the scope, and they're watching and they're looking for opportunities. The whole drone situation, I believe, there was a missing radioactive materials that were delivered on the East Coast, somewhere near and around New Jersey. I think they sent those drones up and they were looking for that stuff. Or either the entry or the exit of that material could have been used to set off a nuclear device. And I believe that the intel that is out right now more than suggests that that's a possibility in what was going on with the drones. They're looking for maybe intelligence or reports that they got. I've not been privy to see those reports, but maybe there's something to the idea that those are ours. They're up in the sky, and they're looking for something. They were combing that area over military bases. They were following boats and ships. So something's going on that we're not being told. I don't like not having the information, because if I was out in the country and I had the weaponry necessary and something was flying around, sniffing around my house, and I didn't know what it was, that would scare the hell out of me. I don't know about you. And especially when they let it linger, the government lets the theory linger that it could be extraterrestrials. Well, they're following me around in my vehicle or my boat or whatever, an extraterrestrial being, for what reason? What is there about me that you would be following? That feels like a threatening thing to me. I feel like my family was threatened, my health, my welfare would be threatened. And certainly if I was in control of sending, F-16s up in the air to knock one of them down and figure out what it was. So if you got too close to me with something like that and you couldn't explain it on my property, I might open fire on something like that if I felt threatened. Again, what is threatened to you and what is threatened to me are two different things. If you come out on the street in front of my house and start yelling and screaming, I'm going to call the police. If you come on my property, I'm going to be at high alert. And if you come in my house, I'm going to take that as a direct threat. So there's different layers to that and how different people would respond. But I feel not giving the American people the information that would be necessary to ease their tension would be the mistake that the current administration has made. And yeah, I could go on and on and on about the current administration, but thank God they're about to leave. So the response, the guy's driving around and he goes down Bourbon Street. Now I understand that there are normally barricades that were taken off and there were cop cars in replacement of them. And the reason why was because they were being repaired or serviced in some way. So I would have to say, did this guy just luck out and figure that out? Should there have been more cop cars there to prevent something like this from happening? I don't know, I wasn't there, but this is, again, part of the layers of what I've been able to ascertain about what happened there. So he drives through and starts aiming his truck, a pickup truck, at groups of people and plowing into them. They said that they held people in the bars because they wanted to question them. So the police didn't let them back on the street. And when they eventually allowed them to go, they walked through this awful, carnage out in the street of bodies just littered all over the place. And there was a large number, 35, 40 people that were injured that weren't killed. Some of them injured very badly. This is a pickup truck at high speed just running people down. And when you're in the street, remember too, I likened it to when I ran with the bulls. There's really not a lot of places to go, when you don't see that. You look up, you're not expecting. When you run with the bulls, you know they're coming. But imagine just being outside having a drink in Bourbon Street and you look up with 6 friends and there's a truck bearing down at you at 70 miles an hour, whatever, however fast he was going. And I don't know the speed, but in the videos that I've seen, it appears that he's going very fast. Then he gets out and just starts opening fire. When he finally stops the car, he opens fire at the police. And of course, they took him out pretty quickly. Something doesn't match. For officials, the FBI officials in the beginning of this said this was not a terrorist attack. Local police right away recognized it, in their opinion, as being a terrorist attack. But the FBI came out and went out of their way to make everyone know that, in their opinion, this was not a terrorist attack. Well, he was flying an Islamic flag on the truck. He had posted all this pro-Islamic ISIS material on his social media. He drove from very far away and picked, the Sugar Bowl, Georgia against Notre Dame, and went down the most popular, well-known street in the entire state, and known throughout the country and the world for its partying and New Year's Eve and everything else. It's a destination place to go. I don't know what more this guy would have had to have done to emphasize that this was a statement of some kind, that he posted things about his pro-Islamic followings, that he just recently, has come back to this culture and embraced it, who clearly hate the United States, clearly, have again, us in the bullseye as a target. So I can't imagine what the FBI spokesperson was talking about when they said, this is not a terrorist act. How can you say this was not terrorism and try to trace this back to whoever this guy was talking to? Several cell phones were found, the usual stuff that happens as it did when they tried to assassinate Trump, and as they do in many of these things. Was there anything inside job going on here? Is this a Harry Houdini deal where they did something there to distract us from something else that's about to happen or is going on? But I said on the show for a number of months now, since Trump has been elected, and before Trump was elected, it's very quiet. It's very quiet on the Democratic side, the followers of Harris and Biden, those that are devout Democrats. And I would hope and pray that the transition is going to be as quiet and smooth as it appears to have been, but I did not predict that. Now again, this is my opinion. And I said, you are going to see violence. Excuse me. You're going to see violence in the streets of the United States. You're going to see violence, I think, at the inauguration. I'm not sure how far that goes. I hope that, there are no lives that are lost. Believe me, I'm not a proponent of this at all. So I'm not trying to endorse it. I'm saying, I just don't think with the subversive stuff that has taken place that I have read about, I have been advised about, that people are going to just roll over and let this man, even though he was elected, take office. I don't see it. And also, of course, because of what they've accused him and Republicans of on January 6th, the famous insurrection that they accused the president-elect of being behind. I'm sorry, I've read so much and seen so much videotape and so much stuff about that to tell you that there was such another undercurrent behind all that was set up ahead of time. It had nothing to do with Trump. It had to do with another group of people that wanted you to believe this about Trump, that knew what a threat Trump still was if he was to run again. I could do a whole bunch of shows on that and just show you video after video of guards escorting people that were supposedly involved through the Capitol building, and just wow. The version, it's like Hollywood. It's like what I do for a living in making movies. Like I can set up a shot and a scene where you look at something and you're looking at it. You're actually watching it happen. And you're going, oh my God, that guy did it. And then show you the script and show you how we did it, and reflections and so on and so forth. That it's so subversive. That what it does look like you see the Lee Harvey Oswald of the world, what it appears, that you say, he was in the building, I saw him, he was then, and what he was being told and what he thought he was doing as a patriot for the United States. There was a big machine behind that whole one, and we'll never probably ever really know the full truth about what happened in that assassination. As we're, I don't know, this guy's dead. Isn't it interesting that the guy is always dead? The kid that was on the roof in Pennsylvania that took the shots supposedly at Trump, he's dead. We're not going to find out anything from him. They made sure that they let him linger on the roof for 20 minutes with a rifle with marksmen with scopes that could see him. Hey, there's a guy on the roof over there with the president speaking. Should we do anything? Send a cop up there, see if we figure out what that is. Okay, you believe that? I got a bridge in Brooklyn I want to sell you to. So I don't think we have all the stuff. We've got relatives of this guy talking to us, but another terrorist attack on our soil against our people, our kids, our fathers, our sisters, brothers being killed in the United States. And this guy grew up, he was in the service here. He grew up in Texas, served for the United States, but something got twisted up. You know, they're talking about he just went through his second divorce. So he's having a really rough time with the divorce. You know, I've been through that situation. It didn't make me want to drive my car. Made me want to scream my head off in court at the judge. It made me want to, you know, try to prove my point about the wellness of my children. And eventually I did, and I got custody. But it didn't ever make me want to kill anybody. It didn't ever make me want to hurt someone. So I'm not sure I'm buying that. I'm not sure I'm buying that. That's the reason why he took a car and drove it at high speed and killed innocent people that he went overseas to defend honorably as an American citizen, who I would imagine with his name, I haven't done a lot of homework on his family, his parents, but I'm going to guess they immigrated to the U.S. So more to come. I wanted to give some attention to this, like I said, to honor those that passed in this terrible, terrible terrorist attack, in my opinion, a terrorist attack. And in hand with this, Las Vegas police are looking for links between the Cybertruck blast in New Orleans and the New Orleans attack. Here's what we know in Las Vegas. Las Vegas authorities are investigating a Tesla Cybertruck explosion on Wednesday outside of Trump Las Vegas Hotel in Nevada as a possible act of terror, law enforcement officials said. Sheriff Kevin McMahill of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department told reporters that investigators were looking into a possible connection to the deadly attack in New Orleans earlier Wednesday, but had not yet discovered any. The driver of the Cybertruck pulled into the valet area of the hotel, and the vehicle exploded, according to an official. The driver was killed, and so far is the only fatality from the incident. 7 bystanders had minor injuries, authorities said. Mahill said the truck was in front of the hotel for 15 to 20 seconds before it exploded. He said it was rented in Colorado, and the license plate readers caught it arriving in Las Vegas Wednesday morning. So, not a lot is out about this right now. There is new news that suggests that the driver actually shot himself and killed himself first before the detonation. I will tell you that with the size of a Cybertruck, if anybody had any idea how to make a bomb, you could have put a lot of explosives in that car, and you could have taken out the front of the whole building, like, for sure. So I have to ask myself, what was this really? A guy driving a truck down Bourbon Street, killing 14 people, versus, and then opening fire at police, and he could have killed many more by opening fire at the police department too. And then somebody who kills themselves, and then the truck goes off and does minimal damage. I don't think these two things. I don't think these two things are related. I don't at all. I think it's coincidental. The guy that did the attack in Las Vegas at the Trump casino, evidently they're saying was a Trump follower. I think more than likely you're going to find that this is not an act of terror. he may be somebody who had some kind of personal stuff going on, or he wasn't well in his head. I don't know. I'm not even mentioning his name yet because I don't have enough information about him, but I just don't see it. Why he pulled in if he's a Trump supporter to do this terrible act, suicide and try to hurt someone at Trump. I don't think that's a coincidence. I would imagine whatever his beef is, he knows that doing it at Trump would have brought great attention to whatever his issue is. So I don't know if we're going to find materials in his phone, if we're going to find stuff in his home. We're going to get reports about him that tell us more. But it's so big in the news right now, these two incidents, that I wanted to talk about them. But I wanted to go for the last third or more or half of the show and talk about a couple of issues. Number one, so I went on, I've gotten in some heat from going into sources that I don't quote the source. So suddenly when I'm talking about something, when I'm reading it, the first report that I read was from Channel 7, ABC News, and the second one was Channel 7, ABC News. So these are not things that I'm just making up, or I read a bunch of stuff and decided to report on it or to talk about it. These are published news sources. This one is USA Today, US and Breaking News Report. And it says, how likely is election day violence? Here's what experts predict. So this is Will Carlos, who wrote this article. And when I read them or I look for sources, I'm not going to the Libertado, some small Tijuana Mexican news source. I'm reading what I think are reputable and have been published and are found online when you click violence inauguration or whatever. And I put combinations of words together and look at multiple articles. USA Today being a pretty reputable newspaper. And I'm quoting them. And then I get in trouble for, I said subversive things, or I said things that aren't facts, or I said, well, if the same source, if YouTube is running a story and it says USA Today has a YouTube site, and the same exact article is on the YouTube page, why am I getting in trouble? I'm quoting them. Now I have to read, this is what America has become now. Now I have to read the name of the thing and exonerate myself of taking any responsibility. I'm not allowed to have an opinion anymore. I'm not allowed to say, I think, or I can be taken down. If the message isn't what the site agrees with, the side that they lean towards, right or left, Democrat or Republican, whatever it is, I can have my stuff taken down and not have a voice anymore. In America, in the country, the land of the free speech, the right to bear arms. It's not that way. It's not the same way it was before. When people didn't like Nixon, when people didn't like Reagan, when people didn't like Clinton, they could stand up and say how much they hated this guy, and he's a communist, and you could say whatever you wanted to. I'll go back again and tell you that I was wrong about Colin Kaepernick. I was wrong. Even though I didn't approve of how he made his statement about violence against young African-American men by police departments, I don't agree that kneeling was the best choice for him. I looked at it, though, after meeting with a friend, a high-ranking military official, and he said, that's exactly why I went overseas to fight. That's exactly why I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy because he has every right in this country to have that sentiment. And I support him for doing so. Even though you may think, me, when he said you, he meant me, that this was a slap in the face to the mothers of a lost military, a life, their son or daughter. And I did. I accused Kaepernick of that. I was wrong. I apologize. This country, you're supposed to be allowed to do that. It's one of the founding reasons the country exists, to break away from the tyranny of Great Britain and other countries. We're the place, the free, the land, the home of the free. So this country is not being run that way anymore. You say things against current administrations, you vanish. Things happen. Don't think I haven't been worried about my family, worried about my brothers who have very staunch political opinions, not the same as mine, a couple of them, but I still support their right to have their opinion. God, my oldest brother, Alec, makes fun of the president all the time on Saturday Night Live. I support that. Go ahead and have fun. Saturday Night Live, all the way back to Aykroyd and the original cast, has been making fun of politicians, making fun of Nixon, making fun of Carter, making fun of Ford, you name it. Reagan, it's gone on and on for 40 years. So, amen. Go do it. But I don't believe that it's a safe place anymore, safe environment. If I was allowed to say what I really feel, if I was allowed to really go after it and say, I would, but I'm not allowed to. I have to gild the lily and shade it some so that I can bring to you what I'm trying to say, suggesting, but I can't come right out and take the dagger out and take some of these people out that I want to. I really want to. They're going to take themselves out. With this new president coming back in, our guy is going to go in there and he's going to straighten this out. He is going to straighten it out. So threats of political violence, intimidation, and insurrection have surged across the online extremist ecosystem in recent weeks, driven by a network of conspiracy theorists, disinformation peddlers, and propagandists. With tensions and rhetoric sky high, experts who monitor domestic extremists say they are waiting and watching for what many feel is an inevitable violent post-election showdown, possibly along the lines of January 6th insurrection. But how, where, and when such an event happens remains unclear, they said, and a lot depends on the results of the election. Well, obviously this was written before the election. Other people are not getting banned for suggesting there might be a violent response. And again, I will tell you, I don't support or condone violence. I don't. The only time violence ever will be used by me is if you, it's in self-defense. In self-defense, I absolutely support violence. If I have to be violent to match or surpass the obstacle in front of me, the threat before me, then yes, I would do that, including gunfire, weaponry, hand-to-hand, whatever I had to do, screaming and yelling to protect my children, whatever that is, against any, domestic or foreign. So, and that's my right in this country. Do I think that after, as we approach January 20th, that it's going to start to heat up? You betcha. Yeah. There's going to be probably protesting for sure about Trump coming in. We're going to have a lot of resistance to things. And this is so ironic because it's one of the other subjects I wanted to touch on, so I'll transition this way. Very few presidents, now I've been around, obviously couldn't elect Kennedy, but I was alive during Kennedy. Johnson took office, I couldn't vote, I was a kid. Nixon, I had no say in. Ford, I had no say in. But then Carter came in 80 and I was 20. And I could vote at that time. So I could vote from Jimmy Carter on, which by the way, of course, we know Jimmy Carter died just recently, and I've already acknowledged that on the show, but let me say again, prayers to Jimmy Carter, one of the greatest men to ever be president. Not a super successful president, but one of the greatest men to ever be president. A beautiful Christian man. So rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. But anyway, so it's so hard. I have to be so careful how I phrase this. When a president is elected and he tells you the number of things that he stands for, and based supposedly on those things, we elect him. One of the things we learned in the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump election was the stuff that I believe her weakness was she never committed to anything. She never really told the American people exactly what she was going to do. You must talk about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and how you're going to get the money for that. How you're going to pay for it. So no one has told us really how should I want fresh water. I want quality schools. I want you to be safe. Okay. Well, what's your plan on that in Chicago and New York? And is the federal government going to implement National Guardsmen at the border now as an emergency act? Are you going to make some, tell me how you're going to do it and where you're going to get the money to pay for it. Is that going to come out of taxes? Because the American people will look at a good plan, and I think people will go, no, we need our border safe. People are being killed in Texas, Arizona, and they're migrating to other cities and coming in and depleting our sources, our financial pots of money that we have to run the city are being totally decimated right now by this influx of people that are just being bussed to wherever the hell they want to go. How are you going to stop that? How are you going to pay for that? So let's look at the mass deportation that has been promised to the American people by the incoming president. The Trump administration has hired some Top Gun guys, Holman and different people that are going to come in and they are going to fulfill the promise that got them elected. Now, it was a close election. He won all of the states as I predicted he would win every single one of them. She's not going to win any of them. He will win all of them. Bingo, FBI, block list again. Who is Daniel Baldwin to say such outrageous things? Those aren't accurate statements. He won every one of them. They wanted you to believe that it was that close. And it was close, don't get me wrong. But he won every one of them. She didn't win one. So that tells you he won the majority vote. He won in the Electoral College. So more Americans are behind this deportation thing. It was a huge, huge contingency on his election. It was a huge, huge factor by which he got elected. And like it or not, in my opinion, I have to now say this all the time, in my opinion, they let those people come over the border because the elections have been so close. And this trend isn't going to change in 4 years. When J.D. Vance runs, and he'll probably be the one that runs for the Republicans, he will run with the support of Donald Trump. And J.D. Vance will have to fight off, by then, millions of new voters in regions that they're sending them to on purpose. They're sending these people into places in Pennsylvania, places in Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, on purpose, so that by that time, a vast majority of them traditionally that are immigrants that come here vote Democratic. It was a plan, in my opinion. It was absolutely a plan. His plan to mass deport these people is because the entire vision of it for the Democrats was to change the electoral landscape forever. With 20 million people, do you understand that in certain states, delegates are represented in very small pockets? 40,000 more votes sways the election in that state in 10 places. That's only 400,000 people. Changes the election. Look at the last election. Look at how close it was in some of those states. You put 1 million people in that state and 990,000 of them are going to vote Democrat, you're going to lose that state. That's how many people, millions, 20 million people are in this country right now. Let's look at how much that costs us, because people are yelling out of the rafters. Do you know how much it's going to cost to deport these people? Do you know how much it costs to get them in? Do you know how much it's costing when you put 20,000 people, 40,000 people into a small town in Pennsylvania? Oh, they're running small business. They're a great labor force. What about our guys? No offense to them. Listen, go back home, fill out the necessary paperwork, apply, we'll do a background check, and come on in. Our country is founded on that. No one that I know that is a Republican or anyone, Democrat or Republican, is against that. They're not against it. But we have not seen, forget about just the election for the 1% that doesn't care, what's happening to those towns. What's happening to New York City? They're out of money. They can't support the city because they have all these people that need housing and there's no houses. Manhattan's a little island, 13 and a half miles long and like 3.5 miles wide, with 9 million or 10 million people on that island. You want to throw another million people on the island? Do you have any idea what that has done to taxing the system by bringing these people in illegally to modify what's going to happen in future elections, which is what the goal was, in my opinion. So this is awful what's happening. No, it's time to send them back, let them fill out the necessary and proper paperwork. So the amount of money it's going to cost to put them on a bus and send them over and do this with the governments of Mexico and some of the countries that they came from will be very, very small compared to how much it has hurt the system here in the United States to give them housing, to give them stipends for food, to give them cell phones, to give them health care. We have American veterans. Please listen when I tell you this part. If you remember anything from this particular show, remember this. We have a suicide rate of our veterans, boys and girls, coming back after protecting our country, after protecting our way around the world. I mean, it's some astronomical number of every something seconds. It's like every 22 seconds or something, an American veteran kills himself. I'm not talking every 22 hours. I'm not talking every 22 days. Even if it was that, that's an awful thing. But it's now down to seconds that these people are coming home and they're really messed up from the tour that they were on, from the things that they saw, from what life is like there is not like it is here. What people are willing to do, they're shielding themselves with babies and hospitals that they're blowing up themselves and then blaming US or this country or that country for doing it. This is high-level murder, propaganda, rape. I mean, just the worst possible things that can happen are going on there. And our guys and girls are coming home and they're killing themselves. They're homeless. The veteran homeless rate in this country is so high. This is America. We honor our servicemen and women. We love our boys and girls, and we should be doing everything we can. But we're sending, under Biden, billions of dollars to the Ukraine. And believe me, for those people out there that are Ukrainian Americans or watching in the Ukraine, my heart goes out to you. I want to help you. I just think we should be taking care of our guys and girls first that fought our wars and get them in a home. If it's a modular home that's a one-bedroom studio, every single veteran should have that before we send money to the Ukraine. They should. They should. This is a financial game that's going on that happens at way, way high level, that they keep making the helicopters and the contracts for the people that make a lot of money, in my opinion. But I'll tell you another thing that's my opinion. We are not honoring our servicemen and women, and that's a crime. That should be a crime. I believe this current administration is going to address that. I'm going to be spearheading with friends of mine a clear path. The great Captain Chris Flaherty, who's a dear friend of mine who runs that program in upstate New York. I look forward to finding the funds to try to help him and help house some of these men and women that some serve the ultimate price, and their family is here and they have a coffin and a flag. But some have come back without an arm, a foot, a leg. And I'm going to spend my money on a potential terrorist, a rapist, or a murderer. Not everybody that's coming over the border. I'm not one of those guys going, you got to get rid of it. No. I welcome all of them, properly documented, going through the process like they did all the way back when my Irish and English roots came over here on the Mayflower and beyond. Ellis Island, let's do it right. Let's do it right, and then we'll be able to space out the number that comes so we can do it in a healthy, financially fiscal way also. But none of them get a dime, not a dime, until we take care of our veterans. And we are not doing the job for our veterans in this country right now. We are not. Please focus on something that I've never seen before. I haven't. So I went through the list of presidents, and it wasn't until Carter. And Carter got in because of the terrible stuff that happened in Watergate. Anybody that could smile and they couldn't dig up anything dirty on, which is how Jimmy Carter, a peanut farmer from Georgia who happened to be governor, got elected. Poor Jimmy. He never knew that the Lions were going to feed him to an awful 4 years. But anyway, when you make these promises, when you get elected on certain issues, I've never seen anyone, any president, come out the door like week one, going in and whether you like it or not, he got elected on those. So clearly, sending these people out of the country that aren't supposed to be here, that came in illegally, was an issue that won him the election. The people of America, or a majority of the people of America, want that. We're going to get resistance from mayors and governors and pockets of influence against the president who got elected by a majority of the people because this was supposed to be taken care of. That's criminal to me. That would be a crime. And if you get in the way of Homeland Security and the different factions that will be carrying out the president's orders, you should be arrested. Get out of the way, man, it's coming. And this is what we elected this guy to do. He is going to take action immediately. And people are going to resist. And if you resist any other laws, if you resist any other amendments or constitutional acts or state laws or whatever it may be, you get arrested, you get removed, you get pushed aside, you get forced. Don't let it come to that. Don't let it come. This is going to happen. This is happening. These people will be deported, a large number of them. And the cost of that, while people are running around on the Democratic side trying to say, do you realize what this is going to cost? No, it's going to cost far less than having to support a family that illegally entered this country for the next 20 years with health care. Far less. So out the door, come on back in legally. That's what the job of this president is. He got elected based on that issue. So deal with that, man. Deal with that. Don't become part of the problem. Please don't make the mistake of becoming part of the problem, because you're going to get caught up in that wave like a tsunami and you're going to get sucked right out to sea. That's what's going to happen. That's it. That's the truth. Why do people not want to look at what's going on in this country and understand the truth? Why would you go and commit violence and insurrection? And believe me, with that term out, with what happened last time on January 6th, now, watch what's going to happen. This is going to be swift. This is going to be swift stuff. They're not going to mess with this at all and allow that kind of stuff to happen again. They're not. People are going to get shot. People are going to get taken out. You try to storm anything now, and I wasn't in favor of that happening before, and I don't believe the president caused that. That's nonsense. Having Dr. King and having that kind of political unrest and protesting peacefully and making your way and having documents signed, certainly being heard on the news, rallies. I'm in favor of all that. Marches, do it peacefully. Don't make the mistake of doing anything that's violent. And God, please, listen to me when I say, don't do something stupid with bombs or bullets or, any of this nonsense. Look at our country. Look at what's happening, how torn apart it is right now. And don't do that. Please, God, listen to me when I say, act sensibly. We want to hear your opinion. Everyone has a right to do those things, to be heard. Get ready for 4 years from now to elect your guy or girl, whoever it's going to be. Prop somebody up this time instead of throwing Kamala Harris, who was not a viable candidate. You messed that up. And I look at the numbers, they're saying she's the leader to run for president in 2028. And I'm like, now you want to know why I left the Democratic Party? That's the best you have? Get somebody set up. If you want to go Looney Tunes with, Gavin Newsom or whoever you're going to go with, do it now. Start getting set up, because daddy is home now. Big Daddy Trump is back in office. It's coming. So you lost that one, you blew it because you picked the wrong horse again. And get ready, because a lot of stuff is going to come out about what happened in the 2020 election too. When this guy comes back in office, you're going to find out a lot of people their heads are going to roll. He's not going to stop. That's why you're getting all these pardons, these blanket pardons from Biden. Ones that I just will never understand. Rapists, murderers have their sentence changed to life from death row for awful, heinous crimes. Only a few didn't. Only a couple didn't get it. But, wow, I just don't understand it. Well, listen, I'm going to conclude the show. Happy New Year to everybody. We're going to go over some resolutions on Monday. And have a great weekend. Be at peace. Love each other. Hug and kisses to your family. We're winding down now this winter break. Everyone's going to go back to school. So have a great weekend with your family. And as I always do, I end my show in prayer. So if you're not someone that wants to pray, then it's time to turn your monitor off. And if you are, well, here we go. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your great glory and bounty and the fact that you died for our sins, Lord. And Jesus Christ Almighty, my Savior, my light, I ask you, heal this country, Lord. We're going into the later weeks now. We're the first week into January, and as we march towards the 20th, and we bring our new president back, I ask for a smooth transition, Lord. Let people be heard, Lord, but put your hand, your guidance over them to bring them to us in peace. No violence, Lord. No violence for this country. It's time to move on, work together, find the commonality, Lord, which can be you, actually. Jesus Christ Almighty, imagine everyone out there. If we were to make Jesus Christ the commonality between us, then there would be no violence. So, Lord, I ask you to guide everyone with your strong hand and bring peace to this nation and healing. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, that's it. That's my prayer, man. I want it all to stop. I want peace. I will talk to you guys on Monday. God bless you. Have a great weekend.